All right. Good morning. We are a small group this morning, Monday morning. I love it though. I wanted to just basically come on here and remind you who you are. I wanted to come on this morning and remind you that you are capable of doing anything you want to do. I listened to this podcast yesterday because it is my habit every day. Okay. I don't care if it's Sunday, I don't care if it's Christmas Day, right? It is my habit to listen to something positive every day that is teaching me something, growing, something that I can be like, oh, wow, that's so good. I can absolutely tell a difference when I don't do that. And yesterday's, they were talking about Steve Jobs and what made him so amazing. And I thought this was so fascinating. They were like, it's not his ideas. It's not that he was a jerk. It's not that he had, just a real direct sort of way about him. It was that 80% of his focus was with no noise. So they said the ratio from the intense focus to noise was 80-20. He said he had this amazing ability, and he said really it's a skill to take the top 3 things that would move him forward in the next 18 hours. He wasn't looking at that time at the company as a whole, or what am I going to do when I have 50, all these millions of people buying an iPhone, or what am I going to do? It was, I have 18 hours to move my business forward. What am I doing? And what are my top 3 non-negotiables? And doing those. Sometimes I feel like we get so future focused, right? So the future is for your why. The future is to motivate you and keep you going and keep you getting out of your comfort zone. But if you are letting 18 hours pass and then letting another 18 hours pass and then letting another 18 hours pass, you're not doing anything, right? It's like all of a sudden, has anyone ever felt that way? Like all of a sudden you're like, wow, it's been a week. It's July 7th today, and I've not signed anybody up. And I have not messaged as many people as I should. And I have not, like, has anyone ever felt that way? Yeah, that's what happens. You're allowing it to swap. Most people allow 80% noise and distraction and 20% focus. So, how are ways that you can increase the focus and intentionality? Because I do believe that in our industry, it is the only industry I think that you can actually do this, is that 80-20% literally can be done in an hour. Like you don't have to spend all day long focused. But if you will spend some focused time where the silence is 0. And here's what I'm talking about. I don't mean like kid silence. I don't mean, although that is helpful, right? It is helpful to, like, the further up the ladder you go, to have, someone come help you, a mom's helper or something. That's what I would have come, and like Lisa's daughter, Cami, would come over and watch the kids, and I'd just be there in my office working, right? Like, so there are different things that you can do to get to that place. But the thing is I'm talking about the silence of fear. I'm talking about the silence of doubt. I'm talking about the distractions of scrolling and comparing and wondering. How many of you guys have great ideas and never follow through? You're like, oh my gosh, this would be a great reel. Oh my gosh, I'm going to record this. I'm going to message that person. And then you just never do it because you're thinking about, I'm just thinking about what to message that person. I'm just wondering what I should say, or I'm just thinking, who should I message? We spend more time thinking about the action than taking the action. And so when you're around action takers, can I tell you what you feel like when you're not an action taker? Or worse, you think you're an action taker and then you're surrounded by true action takers. There's a big difference. They're going to make double the money you make. They're going to have double the organization you have. They're going to have, double the followers on Instagram that you have. There's going to be fruit there. I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you. And here's the lie, is that we believe we're working the hardest we've ever worked, and we're not even doing anything really, right? we're going to believe, wow, I'm doing everything I can, until you're around somebody who's doing everything they can. And you're like, dang, okay. On this podcast, he talked about the SEALs, like the true SEALs, like the raw, Michael McGrails of the world, Marines, SEALs. I don't know. Are they the same thing? I don't know. But he talked about how it was actually Sarah Blakely, who is the owner of Spanx and creator of Spanx, her husband came and he hired a Navy SEAL. Okay, Navy, obviously, so different than Marines. Navy, he hired a Navy SEAL to come live at their house and train him for a week. And he said the first exercise he had him do was come down. He's like, come on down, and we're going to do some pull-ups. So he does 6 to 7 pull-ups. He gets down. He's like, oh, that was really hard. He's like, we're not leaving here until you do 100. So this man, he's like probably 45, 50. He's like, I did 6 or 7 thinking like, this is literally my top. Like, I can't do more pull-ups than this. He goes, take a walk and come back. And he's like, I could put 1 in. 2 hours it took him to do 100 pull-ups. And he was like, what I realized after that is that it is literally just what I tell myself. Because I would have told myself, all I can do is my max is 7. All of a sudden, 2 hours later, it was 100. You're talking about 10xing your work in 2 hours, right? And so when you think of it like that, it's like, okay, what am I actually doing to move my needle forward? And I think that the biggest hurdle we come into is believing our own thoughts, believing my own limit, believing that I can only message 5 people a day, believing that someone has to have this amazing, crazy thing happen to want to join Plexus with me, believing that I have nothing to say on social media, believing the lies. And if you guys can turn your cameras on, that'd be awesome. Because I seriously, it makes me feel so weird just talking to like can't faces, but believing the lie that if no one signs up with me today, I'm not good enough, or I can't share about Plexus because of this and this and this, or I don't want to bother people, or I feel nervous, or whatever the excuses are. I want you to really put that SEAL mentality there and just be like, am I actually doing everything I can? Like, is this actually my limit? Is this who I am? Is this my limit? And I don't know about you, but when you ask yourself that, is this who I am? Am I peak performance? Am I at the top of my game? Am I, when I walk into a room, do I feel like, okay, I've done it. Like, I'm on to the next thing. Do you feel as confident as a Navy SEAL walking up to the pull-up bar? Or do you feel like the guy who's like, I think I could do 7? So, and a good way to test that, I heard this a long time ago, is imagine a Trisha Rieger, imagine a diamond that you just really love, Christina Williams, Brittany Howard, whatever. Imagine we move in next door to you. I'm coming for your people. I'm coming to your town. I'm going to go to your gym. I'm going to talk to your friends. I'm going to join your homeschool co-op. Do you feel like you've hit your absolute highest potential and hit your limit? Or do you feel like, wow, I really have been waiting to develop the relationship? I've been thinking about talking to that person. And I want to give you guys an example. I went and spoke in Canada in Toronto with at the they had this summit that they do, and I got to go out there and it was so fun. We had a blast. I trained all day long. It was like an all day long training. It was amazing. And then there was people who won dinner with us. And we went out to dinner and I waited. I waited an hour as the waitress went around, and I constantly was like, you're an amazing waitress. And she was. I'm like, your personality's phenomenal. You're incredible. All the things. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And I finally went up to the GM of Canada and I said, I'm going to go give her a sample. I'm going to sign her up. I said, I just want you to know I'm giving an hour for the rest of this entire table of people that I've just trained all day long to step out of their comfort zone. I told them I was going to do it and they haven't done it, but I know if I don't do it now, I'm going to miss the opportunity. He's like, go do it. So there in front of them all, they could all see me. I walk up, I hand over a stick of active. I tell her she'd be amazing at what I do, that she could earn trips, that she could do all this stuff. And she literally started like tearing up and she was like, I cannot wait to talk to you. She signed up with me that night and we have been talking through her products ever since. That was like 2 months ago. The difference between a diamond and someone who is a struggling silver or struggling gold is that right there. They're sitting there thinking about what they're going to say. They're sitting there going, oh, what should I give her? What should I do? Instead of just taking action. It had nothing to do with what I said. I would say anything that any of you guys said. It was that I was willing to be embarrassed. It was that I was willing. I mean, she could have done the opposite, right? I've had the opposite happen where they're like, okay, thanks. You're weird, and you walk away. But when you walk up to someone with confidence, and that's what I did, I was just like, listen, I'm really good at what I do, and you'd be even better at what I do. I want you on my team. Who doesn't want to be talked to? Think about that. I want you to really think about that. If someone came up to you and was like, I want you on my team. Like there's something about you. You don't feel sold to. You don't feel sold to because it's like they're seeing who you are. They're seeing your personality. And it's like, I want to join. Like, oh my gosh, that sounds so amazing. So literally for 18 months, I was pursued by my upline, right? Every month, you would be amazing at what I do. And as her confidence built, my confidence built in her ability to get me where I wanted to go. I built trust with her through her consistently checking in with me instead of just once in a while, right? She was constantly telling me how amazing I'd be. And I want you guys to get into that headspace where you're like, I want you to ask yourself every day, did I live up to my fullest potential? Because true greatness, true leaders, people that you admire, people that you're like, wow, if I could have a business like that, they're working harder than you. I can just tell you right now, they're working harder than you, they're working smarter, and they're working quicker. And there's no strategy extra that we don't train. It's not extra like a special message that's being sent. There's not a special anything that's going on. It's that they're willing to work. They're willing to get out of their comfort zone. They're willing to grow. And when we talk about drowning out the noise and the distraction, this is one thing I want to talk about real quick. When you hear no and you get rejected, right? Silver to gold, that's real tough. It's hard. And it's like a little divot. And as like kind of, let's just call it ping pong balls that every no, and they start to fill up that divot. And eventually you're just like, you can just drive right over it. You're like, I don't even care if someone says no to me. I don't care. You will get there. You will get to the place where you're literally like, it's okay. I'm going to hear no more than I'm going to hear yes. That's normal. So when people say to me, I'm not getting any business builders, I'm not sure. I'm like, well, how many people are you talking to? Because if on average it takes 8 to 12 exposures, you're going to be told no more than you're going to be told yes. 12 times more. So a lot of the time, us feeling stuck is that we're just not living up to peak performance. We're just not messaging enough. We're not having enough conversations. We're not showing up enough. That's it. You have everything you need. And so I want to ask you this. If someone joins a team and they practice once a week and the rest of their team practices 7 days a week, who's going to be better at the sport? Coach Lisa, you tell me the answer.
The one that practices 7 days a week.
How come?
Because they have more reps.
Are they better, talented? Are they more
No,
special?
no,
Do they have a
work,
gifting that the other kid doesn't have?
no, but work works. Hard work works. Hard work makes a difference.
It's literally that simple. And I love that we want to over complicate. We want to tell ourselves, this is so hard. I can't do what they're doing. Right. And I have news every level. Right. So if I'm hanging out with people who are making double the money I'm making, I feel like a loser. I feel like, wow, they're doing something I can't do. Not true, but I feel it. I'm like, why can't I just get there? Well, they're doing double the work I'm doing. So am I willing to do that to get there? For me, the answer is yes, because I want to create a legacy for my family. For me, the answer is yes, because I want to be able to give back. For me, the answer is yes, because I want to be the best at what I do. So if you're really serious about what you're doing, stop saying to yourself over and over, I wish this was easier. I wish this would, why won't this work? Why can't I get anybody when you're only messaging one person a day? I want you to come out of that. I want you to come out of that thought process. I want you to start telling yourself, I'm willing to work because work works. I'm willing to message as many people as it's going to take. I sat down on a Friday morning at 9 a.m. and I sent out a mass message to my team when I was Sapphire. And I said, emergency Zoom. Everyone bring a list of 100 people. And we sat down and within 2 hours, we'd all messaged 100 people. I got as many people on my team to message 100 people as I could. Are you doing stuff like that? Are you gathering your people and saying, let's get to work? Right? That's duplication. Duplication is not Mary Pino sitting at her desk by herself, sending out messages. Duplication is Mary saying, yo, Rebecca, we're going to be messaging. Let's go. Yo, Anne, we're going to message. Let's go. Let's get on a Zoom and let's do this. Right? It's moving your needle forward. And so if you can drown out the noise and really think about what can I do in the next 18 hours? This podcast said that he was talking about how if Steve Jobs emailed him, okay, so back then there was no text yet because he came up with it, is that at 2:30 a.m., if he got an email, he expected response immediately. And the interviewer was like, well, why? Like, how that's so outrageous. And he's like, no, because he worked in 18-hour increments. Like, this is all we have. If we only have 18 hours to move this business forward, what are we? It's like that level of obsession. The good news is in Plexus, you don't really need that level of obsession. You don't to move your business forward. You really don't. But what if you had a 12-hour obsession? Where if you're at the park with your kids and you're playing, but you're still checking your phone, you're still making sure that there's not anybody who's you think of someone, you message them right away. Right? We live in an entitled society where it's like we expect the money, but we don't want to work. I want to be present with my kids. I want to do this with my kids. I want to do this with my kids. I'm like, I want my kids to see me work. You got to work to make money. I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. I am okay with my kids knowing where money comes from. Right? We live in that entitled place where it's like, oh no, I don't want to, because then you have to be okay with the outcome of that. And here's a great analogy. I moved to Nashville to be a singer. I did not want to do the work that it required, because it required singing for free all the time on Broadway, which was totally different than Canada. I made a good living singing in Canada. It meant singing for free. It meant, basically selling my soul, and I wasn't willing to do it. It wasn't worth it to me. The rejection was too much. I couldn't hack it. It's the truth. And I live with that choice And I'm happy with that choice because I made that choice. But you got to kind of do the same thing with this. It's like, make that choice and make that decision. Do I want to move my business forward? What have I done in the last 18 hours? That is a really good indicator of why you're where you're at. What have I done in the last 18 hours? And was it peak performance? Or did I just hop on a call and feel good? Am I talking to anybody here today? Am I talking to anybody here today? Because I'm telling you, it blew my mind last night when I was listening to this. I thought, that's really impressive. And what can happen is, as you create those habits become a 30-minute to an hour a day thing. And you're able to do all the things that you want to do. And you're making the money you want, and you have the organization you want. But if you're surrounding yourself with people, and this is the last thing I'll share, the most toxic person in your life is the person who cheers on mediocre activity. That literally slapped me in the face because I'm that person. I have cheered for the person who knows dang sure that they need to be messaging more than one person. Like, good job, way to record that, way to go, way to do this. And I'm like, that is cheering on average. The most toxic person in your life cheers on average. So are you doing that to yourself as well? Are you like, well, I'm real proud of myself. This is me. I'm real proud of myself. I messaged 2 people today. That's ridiculous. Then you talk to someone like Trisha Rieger, who's messaged 30 people a day. And you're like, I have nothing to be proud of whatsoever. Sometimes I think there's an entitlement that sneaks in, right? We think, well, I should just make money. I should just, like, I do team Zooms. I do this. I do this. I post. Why am I not getting anybody? Lisa, how many posts have you made and signed people up?
I don't know, probably 5 to 7, maybe.
Okay. In 10 years?
In 10 years.
Okay.
Yes.
I would say I'm probably around 10 people, between 5 and 10 people, that they just magically messaged me and were like, I want to join you. Does this give you guys some feedback on what you're spending your time doing? You got to post. You've got to. You can't stop. But if you're not messaging people, or if you're not having conversations, if you're not pursuing people, if you're not drowning out the noise of doubt and fear, and you're letting you have no boundaries to your life whatsoever, where Plexus is just dead last, you can't expect to grow. My husband told me last night, because I told him, I said, hey, one of your buddies, and I'm not going to get political here, but I said, one of your buddies is having another baby. And he was like, well, who? So he starts listing off people, which was so funny. He's like, us? And I was like, well, yeah. But also, he's like, Megan and Phil. I was like, no, people you know. But the Secretary of Defense, the guy's having their 8th child. And he was like, I'm blowing out social norms of what's cool and whatever. And he's like, I love big families. I think it's important and all this stuff. And so he's like, anyway, so we were talking about it. I said, he was like, and we have no plans on stopping. Okay. And he's like an older gentleman and he works over. And Rodney turns to me, he's the Secretary of Defense for the country of the United States of America. Rodney turns to me, he goes, you make more money than he does. I was like, that's right. Okay. Okay. And I'm over here carrying the baby and making more money than he does. And I say that because it's like, how can it convicted me and made me very proud at the same time, but it convicted me too, because I thought, how can I say I'm giving my top performance when this man goes in and gives 80 hours a week, 24-hour on-call service to his country? Okay. And I'm over here like, I don't want to message Tanya again. What if she thinks I'm annoying? It's like, we've got to get out of that space. You can't expect a 6-figure paycheck and work 20 minutes a day. It's keeping Plexus as your focus. It's really dialing in, how can I keep distraction out as much as possible? And by distraction, I mean lots of things, TV, scrolling on social media, no boundaries with your family, just whatever. It's like whatever those distractions are for you that stop you from being focused, and then being focused and really being intentional with your business. Because here's the thing, I want you guys to grow. I don't want you to stop, to keep staying the same. I don't want you to have the same points every month. I don't want you to have the same paycheck every month. I want you to grow. So if you earn Icon Club in July, if you just up it to all of a sudden, if Plexus came out and was like, if you don't earn it in July, you're out of Plexus completely. What would you do? You do the freaking 100 pull-ups. You do it. I promise you. If you were 10 orders from Emerald right now, Michael, what would you do?
I'd be working my butt off and I'd be getting my team in gear, and that list of 100 sounds like a really good idea right now.
Why is it that we wait for something like that to happen before we actually get into action? It's like, what would happen if you got into that action first? Is that you would actually, your business would grow. Your business would grow, right? But we wait and we wait and we wait and we wait. We wait till the 28th of the month and then we're all in. So like, I'm asking you guys to ask yourself, if you want to increase your paycheck, which why would you be on here if you don't? I'm assuming everybody on here wants to increase their paycheck. If you want to increase your paycheck, you would never expect your job to be like, I want you to pay me more and I'm probably going to do less. You would never say that. Nicole would never go to the courthouse and be like, I'm going to work 4 less hours this week, but I want you to pay me double. Okay. You would never call Starbucks and be like, I'd love to come in for my shift, but I'm just not really feeling it today. They'd be like, you're fired. And that's a base minimum paying job. And they wouldn't allow it. And yet we want to earn heart surgeon salaries. We want to earn as much as the president of the United States of America. And we're not willing to do the work. We're not willing to take the action. So I'm asking you to really dial it in. As if I'm going Emerald this month. If you treated your business like you were going Emerald this month, your points would increase. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And if you became that habit, eventually, in a very short amount of time, you would be Emerald. So here's what I can tell you for sure, and we'll wrap it up with this. I feel like the preacher that keeps trying to wrap it up and never does. I'm going to end it with this, is that when I was going Emerald, I said no to everything. There was nothing going on. I went from Ruby to Emerald in 4 months. I said no to everything. Lisa was there. She can attest to it. I said no to everything. I was laser focused. So I was zoned in. And by no to everything, I mean all the extra stuff. I still raised my kids. I still cooked dinner. I still was present for my family. But I had bigger goals and bigger dreams. Can I tell you that 4 months of dedicated, intentional time has completely paid off for me over the last 6-7 years since I hit Emerald? And I would go back and high five that girl every single time and be like, you're a badass. That was awesome. Way to go. Your future self is thanking you in a huge way. But we're so afraid to sacrifice. And yet we expect the results. So make that decision. Clear out the distraction. Clear out the noise. What do I need to be doing in the next 18 hours? Narrow it down for yourself. What do I need to do in the next 18 hours to create an Emerald or Diamond organization? Do I have people? Do I have builders? If no, there's your first thing. I got to get more people. I got to recruit and I got to develop business builders. In the next 18 hours, I've got to do that. How will you think differently? Okay. Love y'all. Peace out. Keep it real.